Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now.
Hello, everyone. Today is Friday again, and it's our awesome Dino Miliotis Day.
Oh, hello, hello.
Hello, Dino. How are you today?
We're doing great. How about you?
I'm doing awesome, thanks. And how was the last time we spoke? You were in South Carolina and you were having like really cool family time, and you're looking really great. So you obviously had an awesome week. Tell us what happened.
Did have an awesome week, and thanks for the compliment. Looking very great because now my head is swelling. Won't fit on the screen. You know, th- this trip was exactly what I needed. I mean, I was just terrified and going through my thing. Just the severe anxiety and stuff. And but as soon as I got there, right, my cousin has two little kids, beautiful little kids.
Oh,
His wife is
nice.
great. I stayed there, and it was great to keep in mind. I haven't seen my family since my dad passed in 2017.
Wow,
Just
long
wasn't ready.
time.
Plus, I was I was blitzed out of my mind until 2020. It's probably not a good idea, but you know, um, God throws you things that you can handle, and
Yes.
at the time, and this is what I'm saying about know your body. I mean, obviously I'm not a doctor, and I don't expect anybody to, um, think that they're a doctor, but we all know ourselves. We all know the little voice that talks to us, and most of the time we ignore it. But
Yes, yes.
for me, that little voice was telling me that I was missing something. And I'll give you credit for your show because Break Fear is about facing your fears, really.
Yes.
And we've been doing these segments long enough now where I feel very comfortable, and I really take heart. Obviously not just in my segments, but in the other guests that you have on your show. I mean, really interesting stuff. So,
Thank you.
I kind of analyzed myself, and what I was needing is I needed to get out of my comfort zone, like I've done so many times, face my fears. And my fear
Yes.
was, you go see family. Well, they're going to say, "Hey, how are you? You look good." Next question: What happened?
Of
and
course.
and and sometimes you're not ready for that what happened, but I prepared myself in that if I didn't feel comfortable talking about what happened, I just say, you know what, I don't feel comfortable talking about it. It's in the past.
Wow.
uh,
That's huge, right? That
it,
you had the courage to do that.
it is, but what you're doing constantly, whether you know it or not, is establishing boundaries. They
Yes.
call them
Yes.
healthy boundaries. Sometimes they're not healthy boundaries, sometimes they're quite uncomfortable boundaries to make. So I know that's healthy, but let's call it extremely uncomfortable. But I did okay. I was very proud of myself in the fact that, and this is just by all standards of everything I've done in my life, it's a little thing, but to
Yes.
get on a plane alone, to fly out there, and see little nephews that I've never seen before. I didn't watch them get born. I didn't see them at the christening or anything, and all of a
Yes.
sudden here comes
Yes.
a stranger. And to see my brother, who I haven't seen since 2017. We've talked a few times, but we're not that close where we talk to each other every day. I think we
Yeah.
drive each other crazy. But the greatest thrill for me was when I saw my mother. Now my mother suffers from, she was diagnosed with, it's not Parkinson's, but it's Parkinson's like symptoms.
Okay.
And she's up in age. She's about 84 now. And when my dad passed was the last time I saw her, and I told her, I said, Mom, I'm gonna take a little bit of a breather. I love you, but I'm going through some stuff. I didn't want to tell her what. And plus, if I talk to you, it's just going to remind me of my dad's passing.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
and she's a trooper. She understood that. But she was staying in a assisted living, where basically she could do whatever she wants. It's kind of like a resort, but slowly her capacities have started to deteriorate, and they
Oh,
really, really accelerated this last year to the point where they're basically saying, somebody with this condition probably has a year, maybe less, to live. And as sad as that sounds, a year ago, I don't think I'd be able to see her. But when I went out there, I was prepared.
yes, yes.
It's not the same mother. I mean, she's lost weight. She shakes. She can't get up out of a chair. She can't even have a drink on her own. You got to feed her. You got to clothe her. You
Uh,
get, and but her mind is still sharp, even though she can't really talk. Um, it's a very choppy kind of conversation. But as soon as she saw me, she teared up and she was like,
uh,
and I gave her a big hug. I'm like, "It's your favorite son, Mama." And she's like,
oh, wow.
"No, not favorite. I love both." So still to this day, she can't admit that I'm her favorite son. Do you believe that? But I had a good time. I told her that I was moving out there, and she was just thrilled. Um, and I started looking at the lay of the land. I started
Mm,
looking
mm.
at beachfront property, downtown property, country kind of property,
Yes,
all
yes,
beautiful and all like sleepy little towns and stuff like that, which I love.
yes, yes.
And so I was really excited. So Karina, I took the plunge, and I got a place. I,
Wow.
I got, yeah,
Where did you decide?
uh, I don't
Beach,
know, two,
country, city?
city, because it is centrally located. I mean, if I want to go to the Cape Fear River, it's 3 blocks away.
Oh,
If I
wow,
want to go
that's cool.
to a very nice ritzy beach, it's 15 minutes away. But the
Perfect.
downtown thing has all the nice hotels. It's close to the airport. It has a lot of good restaurants that I love eating, and I love eating good food, not the fast food kind. So
Yes,
for
yes.
me, I think it's just like a completely new life. I'm uprooting. Not that it's bad here, don't get me wrong, but again, my problem was and is isolation. And
Yes,
I
yes.
can't stress this enough. When somebody comes out clean and sober, no matter what their vice was, no matter if they went to rehab or they stopped cold turkey or they went to the hospital, when they get out, there's this inherent um, subliminal need, if you will, to be good. And I use that loosely, but anybody who's a recovering addict knows what I'm talking about. It's like you don't want to slip up. You're terrified of slipping up.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
brand new world you're given a fresh start. For me, because I can't speak for everybody, there's millions of us, but for me, it was the choice that I made to stay away from people, so that I can heal and I don't have people influencing me. Because you're talking about a guy that would get a call every 5 minutes,
Yeah, yeah.
get 200 emails a day. Everybody tugging on my, hey, you got a minute? You got a minute? You got a minute? You know what I mean? And
Yes,
I didn't
yes.
want that. I probably couldn't handle that. But I took it so far, and it kind of evolved into this total isolation, which
Mm,
is not
mm.
healthy,
No.
especially for somebody that loves the thrill and loves the drive as I do.
Yes.
But you know, and here's the blessings, right? Here's the blessings. So a blessing was that I wrote the book. It was there is no box for those who are interested. It's available at Amazon. There is
Yes, and the
no box.
details are at the bottom in the description box.
So this time I did it. So this time I did it. But writing the book was therapy for me because it's almost like opening up wounds, but you heal when you write about them.
Yes, yes.
And it was designed to, take people through an incredible roller coaster of life, ups and downs. The underlying theme is that I always pushed forward, whether I was high or drunk or sober. It was still the same thing. I just kept pushing forward. I mean, even with struggling with addiction, I was still moving forward. And I know that's insulting to a lot of people to say functioning alcoholic, because really for me, functioning alcoholic simply means that my body is so used to drinking mass quantities of alcohol that
Yeah.
little sips don't bother me. So that's not really like a something to be proud of. But anyway, I was a functioning alcoholic, and being not scorned, or nobody was discouraging me. They all knew I had a drinking problem. I mean, seriously. But I was so successful that it's just something that I think a lot of people don't look at, like white collar people that have what we call professional careers.
Yeah.
They think that these people go through the same pain and suffering and addiction that others go through. That's just my take on it, and I found that to be true even when I went in rehab. I mean, a lot of these people they're like, oh yeah, rich people, they don't have our problems. Rich people, they just go to a rehab, boop boop boop, 2 weeks, they're done, or they get a blood transfusion and they're okay. No, everybody's got the same problem, so it's a big deal. It's a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
So when I finished the book, obviously for me, no offense to you or anybody that I've done podcasts with, an hour a day just isn't doing it for me, and I'm promoting the book, and it's obviously a different world. It's not the hype and fast paced stuff that I'm used to.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I don't know, somewhere along the line, I started getting discouraged and disappointed.
Yeah.
Not because my book is successful, but it's not the success of the book that was bothering me. It's still the lack of personal interaction that I was having with people. Then
Mm.
all of a sudden, out of the blue, comes these two guys that started a foundation, and they were looking to transform um, rehabilitation as we know it. Okay,
Oh, I love that. Yes.
they were looking to transform and change the stigma society has on recovering addicts, those with addiction disorders, is I guess the PC word now to call it. And it was cool because it's right up my alley. I mean, there are podcasts where I talked about the same thing. You get out, people look at you a different way. I'm pretty sure that some people are betting, oh, I'll give them 2 weeks, I'll give them 3 months. It's kind of I don't want to say, discrimination, but it is sort of a discrimination,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're looked upon differently. And this happens every day. This happens
Mm.
every day. Not everybody is as fortunate as I to be able to, take 7, 8 months and write a book, or go to rehab and not worry about, well, I got to join the workforce. I wanted to wait and find something that gave me purpose, more so than the dollar signs. I mean, the money is nice and the money is important. Even if you have money, earning money is something that just it makes you feel worthy and it makes you feel good. And if you
Yes.
are one
Yes.
of these people that, oh my God, you're in it for the money, then give your money away after you make it. What do you want from me? But
Exactly.
you know what I'm saying? But let's make it first, and then you could decide. You have choices on what to do.
Yes, it
I
gives you
want
more choice as well. If you've got the money, you've got more choice because you can help more people. You
right.
can you can give to your family more, or you can give to charity or whatever it is, but it gives you more choice. And
So
yeah,
where everybody's like, I want to help people. I mean, from the smallest dollar amount to $5, $10,000. It doesn't matter. It's the giving. it's the giving that helps. And it's
Yes.
not always just tied to money. I mean, you can't just hand an addict money. You know,
No.
what you have to do is you have to change a lot. You have to change the way people view this person, and you have to change the way they feel about themselves. Because
Yes.
if you have low self-esteem, it shows. It shows. There's a couple podcasts of mine where I was going through my freak out thing, and if you look at it, I'm certainly not bubbly or oozing with
No, of course. And people pick that up,
yeah,
and then they react to the way you're feeling. So you'll have negative reactions coming into your life, and then you
yeah.
get upset with them. Meanwhile, it's just the energy you're putting out, right?
Yeah, it is. It's positive energy or negative energy, and you can feel it. I mean, even if I called you on the phone, we weren't looking at each other. I got to the point where I was in telemarketing, as you know, where I knew within the first 10 seconds how the mood of the person on the phone, and
Yes.
it's I don't think it's magic. I think everybody can do it if you practice enough. But I look at it as a gift. Anyway, let's get back to the story. So these two guys wanted to started this foundation. It's brand new. The founder read my book and loved my perseverance and loved the resonating theme of, you got to keep moving on.
Yes. Yes.
And like-minded philosophies where, look, if I get clean, um, I want to stay clean by feeling like I'm doing something fulfilling. And the only way to do something fulfilling is to, what you give out comes back to you
Yes.
tenfold,
Exactly.
they say, and so it's always something to charge my batteries, but something to see, wow, this guy came to me looking like this, and they all look bad when they're, heavily addicted. And then
Yes.
later
Yes.
on, you just see a spark in their eyes and a smile on their face. I mean, it's priceless.
Mm.
So, Carina, you are looking at the new CFO of the Higher Calling Foundation.
Wow. Congratulations. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I did it. I wanted to work up to that. I wanted to work up to that. But
Well, that's
again,
exciting. So what does that mean
it's
to
got to
you?
it's got to be presented to the board and all that stuff. But I'll be honest with you. I mean, this guy flew to where I was because I said I was staying with family. Flew from Pennsylvania to meet me just for 2 hours. We had a quick lunch, and everything we talked about, we were just like in sync, just like
Oh,
bam. And I'm like,
nice.
this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is exactly what I need. And so,
Yes.
with that, I went and got a house, and bing, 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 whatever in my mind, January 6th, I'm there. How's that for?
Wow.
How's that for out of your comfort zone, huh?
I love that actually. It's really
So,
cool.
so I flew back. I flew back Tuesday night, and Wednesday, where I would normally be like, well, I'm going to do a podcast and worry about what I'm going to eat for lunch, and then I'm just going to maybe get gas and I don't know, nothing. Now I'm just like, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do this, I got to do that. It's so fun to be active again, and
Yes.
guess what? The anxiety is gone. The sweaty hands are gone. The shaking is gone. The second guessing myself is gone. It's like it's like being reborn again. I don't know how many chances God is going to give me, but obviously He must really like me because uh, this kind of stuff doesn't happen every day. But this is my chance because, like I said in the book, I want to inspire people. I want to provide hope and inspiration to people. So let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you about the program.
Okay.
The Okay. And I'm going to take this just from my experience when I was in rehab because it was the first time I ever went.
Yes.
It's a completely foreign thing to me. I mean, even though I was suffering from addiction, I'm the guy that would say, well, I'm not that bad where I got to go to rehab. I would frown upon the guys who went to rehab, especially the ones that are like, yeah, well, I've been to this rehab, I've been to that rehab, I've been to rehab 7 times. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, now I get it.
Huh.
When you're an addict, you understand that your mind and your actions most of the time are not your own. It's not voluntary. And I think there's a lot of family members or friends who are not addicts who can
Yes.
never possibly understand what that means. I mean, for them, their solution is, well, you drink too much, you should slow down.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, hey,
Yes.
I'll slow down. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work. It's a constant kind of reprogramming your brain to understand that this is a alcohol or drugs is a coping mechanism, and yeah, it works, but the long-term effects will kill you.
Yes.
Your body parts start shutting down. You're like, what's going on? It's the drugs and the alcohol. You're surprised. And so when I went into rehab, here's what I noticed. It was a 30-day program. And the way rehab works, there's very few people that pay in cash. Now, these programs, I'm just throwing out numbers in my rehab thing, but I think I'm, in the ballpark. It's
Yes.
about
Yes.
$27,000 for a 30-day program.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
And now for rehabs, and I'm not, there's some great ones out there. There's also some bad ones.
Yeah.
But again, their motivation besides treating people and helping them on the road to recovery is money. I
It's a
hate saying that.
business.
It is a business. And
Yeah.
so number of bodies, times 30 days times 27,000, you do the math. They're making a lot of money. Now
Yeah.
in the facility, they have counselors, they have group sessions. I think there were 4 groups throughout the day. There was breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and there was like a free time where you can either go to the gym or the music room or read a book or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And it was a great program. Like I told you before, I mean, for me, it was like summer camp. But I'm very perceptive and I'm extremely inquisitive. So leave it to me to ask the questions that nobody asks.
Of
Okay.
course. Yes.
Yeah. So I loved my counselors because it was the first interaction with somebody that, number one, most of them are former addicts. They do what they love, and there was no judgment, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you come there day 1, day 2, day 3, and they start talking to you, and you could care less. You just want to get out, and you want to lay in bed, and you're just like, I don't know. But as a week goes by, especially 2 weeks go by, you're starting to come alive again. You're bubbly, you're giddy, you're proud of yourself because you're not craving
Mm.
what you normally crave. And there's so many people to interact with, your peers, that you just never have time to think about that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
noticed something. These counselors were loving what they did, and they were happy and joyful to see this transformation.
Yeah.
Week 3, that I was even happier. But in week 3, they started becoming sad. And I asked one of them, I'm like, why are you so sad? It looks like the happier I get and the more productive I am about plans when I get out of rehab. I'm sensing a vibe here, right?
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
that
Yes.
sense that I have. And they said, oh, well, no, I'm busy. There's just a lot of people that just keep coming in the doors, and it's just kind of frustrating and whatever. I said, can I be honest with you? I'm going to go real bold on you, and ask you a question. Are you employed by the state, or are you employed by the rehab facility? They
Yes.
said, I wish it was the state, but it's the facility. Okay. So I said, here's your problem. This is what I said. I said, here's your problem. I said that you love everybody that walks through your doors, and
Right.
the sad part is that that because insurance doesn't cover more than 30 days, it's time to go
Yeah.
in a week. But that the counseling doesn't just stop there. It should continue.
Yes.
Example, how cool would it have been for me to get out of rehab, graduate, whatever you want to call it, get out into the real world and still be referred to working with one of my counselors,
Yes.
somebody who I
Yes.
knew, these people that I knew, that I felt comfortable with. They have my charts, they have the notes, or at least refer it to a counselor in the outside world. Well, insurance doesn't cover it. Insurance doesn't cover it. Instead, what they do, and again, this is about money, in my opinion, more than help. they'll recommend they'll recommend I call them halfway houses. I don't know why, but they call them sober living houses,
Oh,
which is
yes. Yes.
basic. The old days they used to call them halfway house. I don't know. I'm old, so don't mind me. But and these are houses where there is usually a former addict who works for the rehabilitation center, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like an outsourced program. There's a house. It could contain as many as 7 beds or 8 beds, 2 beds to a room,
Okay.
couple bathrooms. It's got to have a front and back exit. It's a
Mm-hmm.
house. It's a house.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do there is you get tested every week. Obviously you pee in a cup, they
Yeah.
test you. There's group meetings in the morning that they go over a page in AA. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's the evening meeting where, again, you go through a page in the AA, and then everybody, you go around the room and it's like, so what does this mean to you? What do you get out of this? That
Yes.
kind
Yes.
of stuff.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All the other time, other than that, you're free to go about as you please. You're free to go to work. If you work in the area, they try and find one of these sober living houses close to your employment.
Mm-hmm.
And you are immediately immersed into all the vices that exist in the real world.
Yes.
Signs that
Yes.
have whiskey bottles, and they promote beer. There's liquor stores almost on every corner, usually in these places. There,
Yes. Yes.
there's bars. The temptation is great, even for the best of us. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
be, because what's missing is the continued counseling, which I believe is important in how to cope with these things. See,
Yes.
when you're spit out in the real world and there's nobody to call, you can't call the counselors you just left. That's not their job.
Yeah.
They'll remain friends and text you, but for the most part, they say, hey, if you call me, I can't answer the phone. I got other patients. You're not my patient anymore.
Yes. Yes.
So people feel out of place, out of sorts, I believe. And again, sober living is covered by insurance. So what they do is, like a couple days before you leave the rehab center, they'll call around and find out if this sober living house accepts this person's insurance, and if it does, hey, we got a sober living house. Have you ever thought of going to a sober living house? I'm like, no. It just sounds like there's too much freedom, unattended freedom. And I'd rather go to my little house in Idaho where I could see mountains and there's nobody there. That was my choice. That's
Yes.
why I did it. And even though I suffer later from the isolation, I'm glad I did, because not everybody is serious. Some people slip a lot faster. Let's just
Yes.
put it that way.
Yeah.
So I'm glad I wasn't there, because it would have been really a lot harder for me. But you got to look at it this way too. Um, Given the choice, most of these recovered people that are on the road to recovery, they get out of the bubble, they're in the real world. So we talk, they don't have counseling, they don't have ongoing counseling or somebody to
Yeah.
talk to, even though they push AA. I'm not knocking AA, but it's not the same. AA still to this day has not been proven that it's like scientifically proven that it'll stop you forever. It's just a tool, one of many
Yes.
tools. I believe more in depth in counseling and finding out root causes. Especially
That's the way it should be. Yes.
since I'm so inquisitive, I mean, it's just right up my alley. But think about all these people that go back to the same environment, they go back to their same job. Let's talk about going back to your own house. A lot of these family members, people in your own house, they're happy for you that you're clean and sober, but they don't know what they're supposed to do to support you. Most
Yes.
of them don't understand addiction.
Yes.
And so, there's the support, you cry on my shoulder and I'll pat you on the back. That's the extent of it. They don't know what they're supposed to do to support that family unit, let's say, right?
Yes. And I
You
mean, a
go,
lot of times, a lot of times the person becomes an addict because there's a dysfunctional family anyway.
right,
So he
right,
comes and he goes back into the dysfunctional family. So he has to behave the same way so that he can be part of the family. Because people, I mean, people want to be part, like you're saying, they don't like isolation. They want to be part of something. So if it
right,
means relapsing and starting to drink or whatever, or take drugs or whatever it is, to be
right.
part of that family, they'll do that.
Yeah, and consider
So,
your friends that don't care or understand addiction, let's say, where you're sitting and you're in a gathering, you're surrounded by your friends, and they don't mean it, but they have a drink. Hey, does this bother you? What are you going to say? Yeah. Most people say no, it doesn't bother me, but yet you watch them take a sip, you watch them laughing, you watch them having fun, and you're just like, well, I miss that, because you're not past the danger zone by any means,
yeah,
uh, and you're most susceptible right when you get out. That's why so many people relapse. Okay,
yes,
now take the
yes,
work environment. Right, you're going to go back into the same work environment. I don't want to get deep or anything like that, but there's a lot of scars involved with that. I mean, there's a lot of triggers. And
yes,
so some of your work friends, maybe people that you used to go out with, they remember the old you. They don't necessarily respect the new you. And so it's just kind of a ticking time bomb. So given the chance, let's just say I was a welder and I worked at a welding place, which is my familiar surroundings. Given
yes,
the
yes,
chance to find an alternate welding job, which was a brand new environment, I don't know anybody who wouldn't take it. The
yes, of
other thing
course.
the other thing that you have to also understand is a lot of these people have never been trained post rehab to enter a new career in a new workforce. They either have never been trained
Yes,
on
yes,
a new job skill, and I don't mean college or junior college. I mean like short-term training programs that give you a skill. Welders, plumbers, automotive, I mean they all pay a lot of money, and last I checked, where everybody's going to college getting a 4-year degree and a lot of people don't have a job. uh these blue collar jobs, as I call them, are in complete demand, right?
yes,
But how do
yes,
you enter the workforce? How do you interview for it? Maybe you have a record. Maybe you are ashamed that you're a recovering addict. Um, it's things like that that are people overlook. People overlook.
yes,
It's like, well, this person doesn't even have a chance if they've never been out in the real world to get a second chance, right?
yes,
The
yes,
other
yes, of
thing
course.
is, I keep talking about alcoholism because that was my choice, my drug of choice. But there's a lot of stuff now that's far worse. There's fentanyl, there's meth, there's crack. Obviously, and I'm not saying this negatively, but it does a number on your teeth. Okay,
Yes,
um, and as much as I'd like to think that the workforce is blind and completely fair and impartial, it is not.
no,
It's
it's not.
selective. It will choose the presentable people.
Yes,
And so if you're clean and sober and you're feeling good, but your teeth kind of are a dead giveaway, what do you do about your teeth?
yeah,
There's things that people don't think about.
yes,
All right,
yes,
this foundation is the mother of all motherships after rehab, because it does provide job training. It does provide coaching to go to interviews. It does provide, in many cases, dental, so they could completely get a beautiful smile and they can feel
nice.
proud.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it provides the after counseling,
Uh,
where it will network and it will work with rehab centers all over the country, where it's just like, hey, after this person gets out, we'd like to provide counseling, continued counseling, and you could share the charts and stuff like that. It
Yes, yes,
does also provide uh, one of the most needed of all fields. And remember, I always talk about, I see voids in the market. Here's one:
yes,
single mothers with child or children that are suffering from addiction.
yes,
Very, very, very difficult to, number one, get into a rehab center. Number two, hopefully it's a good one. But very few people are going to entertain the child care that's needed. I mean, a lot of these
yes,
people don't have family members, and if they do, it's a dysfunctional family. And I'm not knocking these people. I'm just saying, wow, how am I going to go to rehab if I was the only one responsible for a 2-year-old baby?
yeah,
I wouldn't. But
yeah,
my reasoning is, well, I can't go in because of the baby, when all the while you're getting high and leaving the baby in dirty diapers. I mean, it's just it's a horrible thing to think about, but it does exist.
yes,
And a lot
yes,
of these mothers cannot go to places like guys can, because or an all women's kind of thing, um, because they have that extra child.
yes.
And so, what if there was childcare
Wow.
available? Okay. All of these services, by the way, through this foundation, are free of charge.
Oh, oh, I
Now,
love that.
now the
I love that.
people can donate. Obviously,
Yeah.
we work on donations, and fundraising and stuff like that, which I am going to be responsible for. But somebody that's gone through the program and somebody that's gone through the services of the foundation, I mean, they could donate if they wanted $1, they could donate $5, they could donate whatever.
Whatever.
But every
Yes,
little
yes.
bit helps. This is the next cutting edge
This
of
is
care,
so exciting because that's
and
exactly what people are needing is that
it's
support after. Even though what I've seen now is you need a lot of people are having problems to get into, that's another story, actually into rehab.
right.
But that's another story. But after this is beautiful. So you've
Yeah.
got that support so you can increase the probability of staying clean.
Absolutely. And the whole thing is, it's not just one place. This is a program. These are services that are networked all over the country. So I'm going to be doing the networking.
Wow, that is
I'm going to
very
actually go
exciting.
back to my old rehab facility and say, hey, you know what? Forget your little sober living thing. You start referring people to my foundation, and I I don't see. I mean, this is what I do. I mean, I'm not even worried about it, but I see raising a lot of money, helping a lot of people, and making this the gold standard for aftercare. That
Yes,
doesn't exist right now. That doesn't exist
yes,
right now. Now imagine having a placement director in the foundation that does nothing else except create relationships with companies and corporations that are ready and willing to take people on the road to recovery. No
yes,
stigma, no stigma.
yes,
They're like, yeah, and I don't know what it could be. It could be, a salary job. It could be a $15 an hour job, whatever. But then they place a candidate in a brand new job. How
yes.
cool is that? I mean,
That is
there's
very
this is
cool.
such an incredible thing. I was so excited. And if you go back and look at last week's segment, it was, I think, the day before I actually met with them. And in my mind, I already had the job. I don't know how I,
I know you did say that. It was so cool. I loved it.
story of my life. I mean, if you want something, you already know the outcome usually of what's going to happen. Trust your inner voice, people. I'm telling you, it always works, even though we all want to doubt it. It's never wrong. And I hate
Yes, yes.
because you think you're smarter than your inner voice, but you're not. You're not. Surprise. But this is the coolest thing that I've ever done. It's going to be quite rewarding. It's going to keep me busy. It's going to keep
Yes.
me fulfilled. And these are all things, you notice I'm not talking about money. Okay. Obviously I'm going to get compensated from it, but it's not the money I'm talking about. I'm saving my own life, honestly,
Yes.
because isolation, prolonged isolation would have drove me mad.
Yeah.
And now I have an extremely targeted, focused purpose, which is never ending. So what I would do is I'm going to start in my new town. I already have 5 doctors lined up that want to be candidates to be part of the board. Um, let's see what else. I have
Yes.
every
This is
newspaper and radio and TV station in the 3 cities surrounding where I live that want to meet me and they want to expose the story and the foundation. The foundation is made up by basically 3 recovering addicts, me and 2 other guys. We all share a similar story. We were all fortunate enough to, be in a position where we didn't have to go back to a job. I mean, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But we
yeah,
also recognize that there's a lot of people who aren't that fortunate that need help. But don't forget also the professional community, the people that everybody thinks are invincible and supermen. There's, in many ways, when you're holding a professional job, let's say you're a lawyer, right? And, you fall into addiction, you fall into the pitfalls, you go and get help. When you come out, you're not exactly welcomed back by the bar association.
yeah,
You know what I mean? In
yeah.
fact, there's a lot of people who lose their license simply because of that.
Yes.
Doctors can go through that. I could have gone through that if I let it. Here's a renowned businessman and he's a biz whiz, and oh wow, he fell in bad times. Now he comes out and they all look at you different.
Yes. Yes.
And so
Yes.
for us, it's understanding that been there, done that. It's not that important to go back to a same career. It's actually more fun and more important to help people and reinvent yourself, which you can
Yes.
do very, very easy. So, look, if you watch the last 3 segments we've done, you'll see a guy who just freaked out, then had a panic attack, and then a guy who started feeling better, and then a guy who pushed himself out of his comfort zone and traveled cross country, and now here I am today, like nothing ever happened. So it can happen as quickly as this, or it could take longer, but it does happen. It does happen. So,
So I'm loving that. So what I'm saying is, I think we need to. What if I came to you, right, and said,
mhm,
Dino, this is my life. Um, Whatever. My business isn't doing so well, and I need to change my business. Okay, I need to make more money.
mhm,
Maybe that's a start to speak to get people to call in and you say, okay, now Dina, what are you going to do? I mean, you've changed your life, you've changed your attitude, and you've gone from being really depressed and anxious. I mean, we saw that, I felt that a few weeks ago, to
yeah,
now it's like, woohoo, I'm so excited.
yeah,
Um, what advice would you give me? How do I do that? Because I'm also obviously isolating myself, right?
yeah.
Maybe I'm too scared to go out and network with people.
The best way I could describe it is whether it's a big step or a little step, face your fear. It could be one fear at a time, but face it, because all it is just a confrontation. Look, people are going to be afraid of something forever. I mean, you can't
Yes.
not be afraid. I mean, it's part of our nature. But if you understand it, it just softens the blow so much. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
again, I mean, I dug deep. I don't know if people daydream. I would recommend it. I don't know if they soul search. Some people look at it as dwelling on the past, but the only way we could go forward is understanding the past, not lamenting it, but put it in its proper place, right? You
Yes,
don't want to
yes.
forget the past. But all good and all bad has purpose. And so for me, I just started, obviously, I'm talking to a counselor too, don't get me wrong. So I'm not like this wonder kid, but for the most part, honestly, the little voice figured it out for himself. Yeah, there are underlying issues. Yeah, I'm finding out that there's been anxiety in my family for generations, not just one generation. And
Yes,
and
yes.
I get that. But so what? So what? Um, I understand that I can't be idle. Now, that doesn't mean that I have to be psychotic and just like, do everything where, you get these nillies and they're like, okay, let's go. I don't, I'm not that. But I just don't want to sit idle. I'm a guy who's always had a really, really percolating, fertile brain. I've always thought of creative ways to do things. I've always thought of ideas. I've never been shy to socialize with people. And all of a sudden, to think that you could just turn those switches off and live an isolated, secluded life is ridiculous.
Yeah.
If I lived like that all my life, I'd say okay, and some people do just fine like that. But I've never lived my whole life like that, and so how
Mm.
can I just like turn it off and expect everything's going to go? Your mind's going to take so much, but then it compounds, and the littlest things start bugging you, and next thing you know, you got a full blown panic attack. At
Yeah,
least that's what happened to me.
yeah.
And the good thing is that instead of just being afraid to and tiptoe around things, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to plunge in. What's the worst thing that could have happened on this trip? I would have had anxiety. Well, I would have had anxiety here too. So
Yes, right.
what? But the
Yes,
best
yes.
thing that could have happened is what happened, which is I realized that I enjoy being around people.
Mm,
So
mm.
the advice I tell people is, start, like, if you're afraid to go out of your house, take a step outside one day. If that's a start.
Yes.
Then take two steps. Then get in your car, take a drive around. I mean, meet somebody, even for 5 minutes. It could start that way. Now that's being like totally like really really enclosed, but for a lot of people, it's it's not that they don't want to try new things. It's that they're afraid of trying new things, and not necessarily, I'll say, because they're afraid of failing. It's the daunting task in your mind that suddenly comes. Like, as an example, I want to move by January the 6th. Do you have
Right.
any idea how many things I have to do between now and January 6th to make that happen? And if I think about it all at once, it's overwhelming.
Yes,
But if I
yes.
sit there and say, well, I'm going to do this today, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to do that, then it starts becoming a little easier. And that's the name of the game. I mean, spoon feed yourself. Don't guzzle. That's a, you can use that one if you want. That's a
I
good one.
love that. But
Yeah.
sometimes it's nice to guzzle, right? Like sometimes I'd love to go to, I love ice cream, right? It's beautiful to go and buy a big ice cream and just guzzle it, to just enjoy it, right?
Yeah.
But it's
But then
not every day.
then you
Then
get very,
you, yes, yes. Or you feel really down and out afterwards because it's too much sugar.
yeah.
But that's another
Look,
story.
everything in moderation. And I understand people want a good job, they want a good career, and they want to make money, they want to be a good provider, they want to feed their family. All those things are great, and they give you confidence and they make you feel good, right? But
Yes,
go beyond that, where you do more, which is helping somebody else. Doesn't always have to be money. It could be advice, it could be a nudge, it could be a push, it could be just the support. All those are good things, and all those things also are personally rewarding,
yes.
especially when you see your efforts. I mean, I'm not going to help somebody and say, hey, did you see what I did? Look,
No,
it's
no.
because of you, it's because of me. But I know I know, and they know, and that's all that matters. I don't have to
Yes.
televise this to the world. So, anybody that's interested in helping out, the donation, I mean, anything, the foundation, anything will help in donations.
Yes.
Setting it up right now, but I'll go so bold if you could post it on your link, and I'll leave my phone number. You guys can call me. It'll obviously leave a detailed voice message. I'm not going to pick up strange calls from all over the country, but leave a message, and I will personally call you back and take your donation. Every little bit helps. We're launching something very, very quickly. Shortly after I move out east, I'm going to have my first fundraising gala there. And
Nice.
I'm going to have the press there, and I'm going to have radio there, and I'm going to do some podcasts and things like that. And Carina, I got to tell you, with your background, you'd be like one of the perfect candidates for the foundation to use for your area for counseling. I mean, seriously, that's what it's all about. And how rewarding would that be? You know what I mean?
That's brilliant. I'd love that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So remember, it's the Higher Calling Foundation. The fundraising arm of mine is called Foundation Fundraisers, and I'm actually building an office there too, aside from the house. This is fast stuff.
This is very fast, but
I
it's
don't.
very exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So for right now, the crude method is I call people back. I could take payment over the phone or whatever. Any donation helps, but I will in the weeks to come launch the full site and how people can help, um, volunteering, as well as with donations. It's not all about money, but obviously there's a lot of all these services are free. Um, the patients, don't ever have to pay. They can contribute if they want, but it's not going to prevent the care that they get. So everything that operates is through love and giving. So
I
that's
love
important.
that. So all the details will be down below on the description. So check it out. And then hopefully by next week we'll have some website or something up, and then we can share that. So this
Yeah.
is this is very exciting stuff, Dino. I'm excited, and it's going to be exciting to see how it evolves because we started right at the beginning. So every week we'll see how it evolves, and it's very exciting. And all the people that you can help are
Yeah.
coming. Thousands and thousands of people
Millions.
make changes in
Mi-
their lives and in their families' lives. It's beautiful.
Yeah. So for somebody that was bored, be careful what you ask for, because
I know, right?
I'm going to be really, really busy. But how fun is that? It's just like a breath of life. Uh,
Yes. And you
and
can have all the fun creating all these fundraisings. That's also so much fun,
I
right?
know it's like planning a wedding week somewhere. You know what I mean? It's
Yes,
like
yes.
all you got to get the entertainer, you got to get the food, you got to get the live and silent auction items. It's going to be a blast.
Right.
So, and one of the good things that we're also talking about is exactly our first podcast together, where we're talking about, I'd like to show people how you start something from scratch and then it just blossoms. Well, we're doing this right in front in real time, right in front of
Yes,
people's eyes.
yes,
We
yes.
also did my minor setback, my minor freak out with anxiety right before people's eyes. This is not an act, people. This is
Yeah.
this really me. I mean, I wear my heart on my sleeve. So on days that I didn't feel good, I'm sure I didn't look good. I looked like this in one of them. I saw my like deer in the headlights, but
You
changed by
did, but you did it. That was a good thing.
yeah, yeah, changed by the magic of the anti-anxiety medication that I was taking. That I had no idea what it was going to do to me, but I'm like, and still, I'm like, you know what? Damn it, I'm going to do Karina's show. I'm not blowing off her show. So,
Well,
you,
thank you, Dino. I appreciate
yes,
that.
deer in the headlights, but good. I want people to see that. I want people to
Yes.
see that, you know what, all things are possible. And if you go back and look at those segments versus now or our first couple segments together, you'll see this is the real me.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Dino. I think on that note, people remember Dino's book. You can check that out.
There
And
is no
my book should be coming
Amazon.
out soon in Amazon. We'll talk about that soon. And of course, any donations. Anything else just before we go, Dino, that you would like to say?
No, except what crazy guy leaves their personal cell phone number for people to call? I'll call you all back, I promise. Uh,
That
but
is crazy.
but
This is
I
the
cool. Nothing to hide here. Everything's on the show. When we talk on segments, when we say hi to each other before we go live, it's like, well, okay, so anything special we'll talk about? And I'm like, let's just roll. And we always finish a full show, and it's always interesting, I think.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much again, Dino. Have
Thank
an awesome, awesome week.
you too.
And we'll see you next week.
Yep. You got it. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone. Have fun.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for listening right to the end. Now, if you want to know more about breaking fear and if it's keeping you stuck, check out the quiz. The details are below. Subscribe so you can hear some more of this delicious conversations. And then watch out for my book, The Clank of Chains, which is coming out very soon. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.